Good morning, everyone. I'm glad that you all are here watching this video and that we are worshiping together Jesus Christ, and we're also celebrating that it is Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all our mothers out there, and I wish you a very good day. For some of you, it's going to be hard because maybe some of your family won't be able to come in, but know that you're in their thoughts and in their hearts right now. And that, as much as anything, means a lot. I'll give you a little update on some things that are going on. Next Sunday at 10:30, we will be having, unless something else happens, you never know. Things change crazy and have for the last few months. Our current plans are to have church service in the building. There are some conditions. We ask, because of the recommendations put forth by the state, that you wear a mask when you come in. We'll have somebody there at the door to open the door, and though you may want to give them a big hug or whatever, we ask that you refrain. When you enter the sanctuary, we'll have one family group per pew, or if you're a single person, you can sit on one side of the pew and another single person sit on the other side of the pew, because we have to keep 6-foot distance between groups. Also, for those of you who are concerned about your health, or because you're over 65, or because you have other health conditions, the state recommends that you stay home. So with those guidelines, then we're going to have church. It also asks that we keep our numbers around 25 or so. So if we end up having a lot more than that, we'll have to change some things around. But also during the church service time, we will be having what I'm calling drive-through church or drive-in church. We'll have a radio frequency set up, so if you can't make it in the church building, you can listen to us outside in your car. Also, Sunday night, we're going to have drive-in church. But unless it's raining, I won't be standing outside. I'm going to be preaching to you, and it's going to be like a drive-in theater without the theater. You're going to sit there, you can listen to your radio, and you can hear me preach. We'll sing songs together. At least you'll hear me and my assistant sing, and you'll be singing in your cars, I hope. And we're going to have some great time, I hope. So that's our first step into getting things back open and back going up here at the church. Also, I was asked to let you know that we have been awarded a grant. It's a matching grant, so that if we come up with $400, that we will get $4,000, over $4,000 worth of equipment and services to help do better with our technology, get a newer computer, get a new camera, so we wouldn't have to worry about using somebody's phone during service, and getting some upgrades that are needed there. So if you want to give toward that, put it in. I know how generous you all are. Some of you, your money may go in and there'll be extras. So if it's okay, remember that if we go over that $400 that we need to get this $4,000 grant, that extra money will be set aside to take care of the needs of this church. Also, I've been hearing that a lot of you are still making phone calls, talking to one another via Facebook, email, and just regular old mail. And I thank you for doing that. Our connection during this time outside of church is vital. Again, I recommend good Christian music. And if your mom's not at home and she's alive, give her a call. And if she's living with you like mine is, well, then you'll just have to tell her happy anniversary. Yeah. Happy Mother's Day. For you during this. Also, if you want to continue sending in your gifts, I won't make the joke about taking up an offering right now, but you all have been very faithful in continuing to bless this church. Most churches have seen a 25% decrease in their giving during this time. I am pleased to tell you, Tell City has not been one of those churches. Your faithful giving has caused us to be able to continue without having to worry about a deficit, without having to worry about making any cuts. I just want to tell you, Tell City First Church of the Nazarene, I'm proud of you. You've been good. You've been faithful, just like I believe the Lord wants you to be. Let's begin this morning with a word of prayer. Dear Father, we thank you for the opportunity we have together. And Father, right now, we ask you meet with us in a special way. Lord, we ask you to reach down and touch those of our congregation that are sick and infirm, that are having physical problems. Lord, grant them the grace that they need right now. Lord, I ask for right now that you would reach down and touch our community, our state, our government, our world that's facing this COVID-19 problem. Give our leaders wisdom. Give those who are doctors and nurses the grace to do what they need to do. And let us respond as you would want us to. Lord, let us never forget the gift you've given us in life and in love. And Lord, let us show that to others. I ask now, Father, that as we prepare to get through your word, that you would open up our hearts and our minds and our spirits to what you'd have to say to us here today. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. If you have your Bibles, you can turn to John chapter 19. We're going to look at the crucifixion today. Starting verse 25 of chapter 19 of John, it says, "Near the cross of Jesus stood his mother. What must it have been like? Truly the prophecy given at his dedication that he would come and he would bring the rise and fall for many in Israel was forgotten. But the promise that a sword would enter Mary's soul was very prominent. Did she have the full realization that he was, or was she like so many of the other disciples, unsure? Even with the assurance of resurrection, seeing a crucifixion is a horrible experience. And imagine a mother seeing her child crucified. But she was there. She stood beside him. It says his mother's sister Mary, the wife of Caiaphas, and Mary Magdalene. And Jesus saw his mother there, and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby. He said to his disciple, "Dear woman, here is your son." And to the disciple, "Here is your mother." From that time on, the disciple took her to his home. Many people, there is some disagreement, but many people will believe that it was John that was standing there. And in the midst of this crucifixion, in the midst of this horrible pain, the weight of the world coming down upon him, the weight of the sins of the world coming down upon his shoulder, the pain in the body, the pain of the soul, the having to put his full trust in God that what he was facing and the pain he was feeling was going to be worth it. He looked down and considered his mother. He did what he could to make sure she could be taken care of. Not just by some member of the family, but he wanted to make sure that it was a Christian. Someone, a believer, one of his disciples, that would take care of his mother. And so he looked at this disciple and looked at his mother and said to the mother, "Behold your son." To the disciple, "Behold your mother." Giving clear and concise commands to both to take care of one another. As I have been your son, now think of him as your son. Take care of her like you would your own mother. In the midst of all that was happening, Jesus stopped and considered his mother. If the God of the universe thought it was worth time, in the middle of the most important time of history, to take care of his mother, that's definitely a sign to us that we should. Now, I understand sometimes there are mothers out there who aren't good. And the best thing a child can do is separate from them, so that the mother will not do wrong things and the child will not receive abuse. But ignoring those times, for most of us, we need to consider our mothers. And so we need to consider, I will give you 7 ways that we can show love for our mothers. First of all, if you like to keep notes, now is one of those times that put 7 lines and get ready to write the first one. You love her verbally. Especially men have the philosophy, I don't have to say it. You already know it. I told you before, if I change my mind, I'll let you know. As that old joke about the husband and wife who got married, and after years she said, "Honey, do you love me?" He said, "I told you when we got married I love you, didn't I?" "Yeah." "Well, if I change my mind, I'll let you know." Or sometimes they think, well, I'm showing you, aren't I? And that's true, but many times, and I'd say most times, people need to hear the words, "I love you." It's important to hear those words. Show it, yes, but also to hear it. Children need to hear it. When a man tells his wife he loves her, when he tells his mom he loves her, children hear it too. It's important for the family dynamic to those words be spoken. A Dear Abby column written years ago said, "I shortly enlisted after Pearl Harbor. 36 days later, I was on my way to the Philippines. En route, the Philippines fell to the Japanese and we were routed to Australia. 11 days after we landed, I met the most beautiful girl in the world. On our first date, I told her I was going to marry her. I did, 18 months later. While on 10-day R&R leave from New Guinea. After more than 57 years of marriage, 2 children, my beloved Mary died 5 days before Christmas. Although we agreed that our ashes would be scattered over the mountains, I found I could not part with hers. While Mary was alive, she would frequently say, 'You don't know how much I love you.' And I'd reply, 'Likewise.' I never said I love you. Now her ashes are on my dresser, where I tell her several times a day how much I love her, but it's too late. Although I wrote poetry to her, I could not bring myself to say those 3 words I knew she wanted most to hear. As my dearest was dying, I thought she was comatose. I told her, 'There aren't words enough to tell you how much I love you.' A few hours later, she whispered, "Not enough words," and died. The reason I'm writing is to urge men to express their feelings while their loved ones are alive. I don't know why, but many men are reluctant to express the depths of their feelings. Signed, Missing Mary in Colorado. Our spouses need to hear it, our children need to hear it, and our mothers need to hear it. Men would say, "I'm just not that turn." Well, maybe you need to turn the other way. "I'm not comfortable." Well, then maybe you need to get uncomfortable. So you need to share with your mother love verbally, but also love her physically. When was the last time you gave her a hug without being asked? Or a kiss on the cheek? Or just sat on the couch and held her hand for a change? She's the first person who touched you. She wrapped you in her womb for months. You came out of her priority was to hold you. She cuddled you, stroked your head, rubbed your feet, held your little cheeks against hers, gave you a finger to grasp. She loved you in all these things, including grooming you, maybe it's even sometimes with that licked thumb. She gave you bear hugs so tight that you didn't have to hold on. She just clinged to you and you walked around. She changed your diaper, potty trained you, had Kleenex for you can blow your nose. She wiped your food off your face for years longer than maybe she should have had to. She constantly touched you, and she may have had hands off to another, but in her life she endured some heavy changes. But she deserves your touch. She should never have to give that up completely. It would mean more than flowers or candy or eating out or a diamond necklace. Maybe. I won't go that far. So touch her physically. Make sure to love her verbally. But also love her, here's number 3, patiently. Mothers have an incredible job with no pay. No position in the business world compares to the physical, emotional, and spiritual commitment motherhood has. A poet wrote one time these words. She rises up at the break of day, and though her tasks she race, she cooks the meals that best she may, and scrubs the children's faces. While school books, lunches, and homework too all need consideration, yet the census man insists she has no occupation. When breakfast dishes are done, she bakes a pudding maybe. She cleans up the rooms one by one, with one eye watching the baby. Mending the pile, then she attacks by ways of variation. And yet the census man insists she has no occupation. She irons for a little, then presses daddy pants for daddy. She welcomes with a cheery smile the returning lass and laddie. A hearty dinner next she cooks, no time for relaxation. And yet the census man insists she has no occupation. Don't ever make the mistake of telling a lady who works here at home that she doesn't work, that she doesn't have a job. She does. The only thing worse than asking if she doesn't work is asking her if she's expecting and she's not. Yes, don't go to a woman and say, "Oh, are you expecting?" when she's not. And then top it off with, "Oh, you don't really work, do you?" when she's a stay-at-home mother. You won't have to worry about the coronavirus if you do that. Many ladies today have, on top of a full-time job, also do those other things. Here's the point. In spite of all she does, often she can become. We get used to them taking care of everything, outraged when we say, why are those clothes still dirty? Why aren't those ironed? Why are we out of my favorite cookies? You know I don't like my eggs cooked this way. She picked up if you didn't like to ride the bus, but now you're scolding her for being 5 minutes late. No. Love her patiently because she's tender to your needs. And this is no reason to take advantage of her. It's a reason to be patient and love her all the more. Teenagers, it's unfair for you to be more kind and considerate with your parents, friends, than your own mother. If you treated your friends or your friends' parents like you treated your mother, would they be your friends? Some of you wouldn't. Some of you, I'm sure you do well. Moms deserve better. Not a rug to be wiped on with every negative thought. They need to be loved patiently. For us with adult mothers, Dobson and Rokatha family read a letter from an 80-year-old woman on her birthday. They wrote, to all my children, I suppose my upcoming birthday started my thoughts along these lines. This is a good time to tell you that what I truly want are things I can never get enough of, and yet they are free. I want the intangibles. I would like for you to come and sit with me and for you to be relaxed. We can talk or we can be silent. I would like for us to just be together. I need your patience when I don't hear what you say the first time. I know how tiresome it is for it to always be repeating, but sometimes I must ask you to repeat. I need your patience when I think too much about the past, with my slowness and my set ways. I want you to be tolerant with what the years have done to me physically. Please be understanding about my personal care habits. I spill things. I need things. I get unduly excited when I try to figure out my bank statement. Or today, it may be the computer. I can't remember what time I take my medications or if I took it already. I take too many naps. Sometimes sleep helps to pass the day. Well, there you have it. Time, patience, understanding. These are the priceless gifts I want. Finally, in his letter, the Apostle Paul wrote, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I know I can too. It's a wonderful feeling to know his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he cares for me. I guess being old isn't that bad after all. Love, Mom. So love your mom patiently, and also love your mom attentively. Mothers, listen as you pour out your heart. Have a sympathetic ear, and even as adults are many times willing to listen and understand. A documentary last year of men going to execution for capital crimes. They interviewed the men and their mothers. And verily the moms would say, he's such a good boy to the interviewers. It's like, yeah, he slaughtered 37 people with an axe, but I know he has a good heart. It's a wonder about mothers. They can see the good. They can be a rock beside you. So love them attentively. Pay attention. With the patience, be attentive. But also love her gratefully. An elementary science class had been studying magnets and how many objects they attract to them. At the end of the time, the teacher put forth a question. It said, 6-letter word, starts with M. Picks things up. What am I? Over half the children said, mother. You need to be grateful for your mothers. Also love her generously. There's nothing too good for her. We can never repay her, but we ought to try. If she didn't spend enough on herself, unless many times our needs were met, she'd go without, so make sure you could have. She cleared her schedule so to run you around. She gave up opportunities to take care of you. A math question was asked one time to a teacher. Or the teacher asked, if there's 10 people at a table and one apple pie, how much does each one get? One person said 1/9. Teacher said, you don't understand your fractions. The person said, you don't know my mom. If there's that many people at the table, she's not having it. She's not going to have any pie. So love her generously. Love her finally, honorably. Exodus 20:12 says, honor thy father and thy mother, that days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. This is binding as long as your mothers live. Another command says, children, obey. Non-binding, of course, when you leave home, but honor is different. If a husband is the head of the home, then the mother is the heart. And don't break the heart. You say, yeah, well, my mother wasn't very honorable. The Bible doesn't say about qualifications. But it does give a promise. Honor. So you can live long upon the earth. Honor them. Mothers are the crowning jewel of God's creation. The last thing, and many would argue the best. Never let us be too busy for our moms. If you could take the time and great effort and all that he was doing on the cross, Jesus stopped to make sure to take care of his mother. How much more of an example do we need to tell our moms, Happy Mother's Day? How much more is it to tell those women who they may not have been a mother, have been a mother to us? Happy Mother's Day. Thank you for all you've done. This morning, my mom is sitting in the other room, and I can see right across her. Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day, all of you. God bless you. And go with God.